Hi! Okay, so how are you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Sarian, and today is Monday, which means it's murder, mystery, and makeup Monday! Maybe I should do a bun. If you are new here, hi, my name is Sarian, and on Mondays, I sit down and I talk about a true crime story that's been heavy on my noggin. And I do my makeup at the same time. If you're interested in true crime and you like makeup, I would highly suggest you hit that subscribe button because I'm here for you on Mondays. So before we jump into today's story, we do have a sponsor, and I'm obsessed with this sponsor. It's Best Fiends. Let me tell you, Best Fiends got me. They got me good, okay? So what's Best Fiends, you're probably wondering? Well, Best Fiends is a puzzle adventure game where you solve thousands of fun puzzles and you collect cute characters called fiends. I think they're bugs, to be honest, because like there's this one bug, I think she's a roly-poly, and she has like a handbag. I like her a lot. She's cute with her little bag. But I think they're bugs. Anyways, last time I talked about Best Fiends, I was on level like 50, I believe. Well, guess what? Okay, I made my way to level 822. Do you see it? 822, girl. What can I say? It's just a lot of fun, okay? It's just a lot of fun. I like to play Best Fiends when I'm just like wanting to kill some time on the toilet, you know. The game is super fun. It's a bunch of different puzzles and it makes you think, and you can honestly spend forever on it because it's ever changing. Like it's always different, and you get to level up with your fiends. They evolve and grow and then you defeat slugs. I know. It's a 822. Yep, I'm there. Anyways, I really like playing Best Fiends when I'm pretending to watch TV, because I'm not like my reality. When I want to de-stress, when I'm just doing nothing, it's fun. It's fun to kill time, and I love it. I just love it. Anyways, if this sounds like something you want to try, I would say you can go ahead and download the game for free using my link down below and get $5 worth of gold and energy for free if you beat level 5. Wait, can I use my link? So if this sounds like your cup of tea, download Best Fiends. And remember, it's like Friends, but without the R. Best Fiends. Thank you again, Best Fiends, for partnering with me on today's video. But other than that, let's now get into today's story. There you go, Bun. Bun's cuter. Today's story, it's gonna raise your blood pressure. It's so stressful. I didn't like know. Look, Natalee Holloway. I'm sure you're aware. Like if you're over the age of 30, I don't know. You probably know Natalee Holloway. We first learned about her disappearance in 2005, and then she just kind of became like this household name. I mean, everyone like heard about this story. It was everywhere. You couldn't avoid it. It felt like everybody was looking for her, and she was a topic on everyone's minds. And then things would quiet down for a little bit, and then her name would pop up again. And it was like this giant mystery as to what happened to her, right? For me, I was kind of like looking into this like, yeah, what did happen? What did happen? I had no idea what really happened. But let me tell you the story. Again, it's probably gonna raise your blood pressure. And there's so many layers to this damn story that for time purposes, I cut out some of the stuff I felt like didn't apply to the overall story, if that makes sense. So just know that I'm kind of giving like the meat of it and not the meat and potatoes. Do you get what I'm saying? There's just a lot. There's a lot. Okay, so let's get into today's story about Natalee Holloway. So who was Natalee Holloway, you ask? Well, Natalee, she was born Natalee Ann Holloway, and she was born October 21st, 1986 in Memphis, Tennessee. Her dad, his name is Dave. He was an insurance agent for State Farm, and her mother, her name's Beth, she worked in education. Natalee also had a younger brother named Matthew, and their parents ended up getting divorced in 1993, and the two kids, they went to go live with their mom. I don't know where their dad went, but yeah. So they live with her mom. Great. So then in 2000, their mom, she ended up getting remarried to a guy named George. I know, George. And George was like some bigwig, big deal businessman in Alabama. So he was like doing very well for himself. Okay. So after Natalee's mom got married, they moved to Mountain Brook, Alabama, which is like a really well-off suburb of Birmingham. So I hear, So when they moved, the kids, they had to like they switched schools, which really sucked, especially when you're a teenager and you already made all your friends and stuff, and switching school, that sucks. But it happened, and Natalee ended up attending Mountain Brook High School. Okay, so Natalee, it was said that she was, a very sweet young lady. She was beautiful. She was really involved in activities at school, like the National Honor Society and the school dance squad. It was said that when she walked into a room, she lit up the room. And you know what? She probably did. It's just how we describe everybody, huh? But on top of all that, Miss Natalee, she was super smart. Okay, Miss Natalee? She was very smart. She was accepted to the University of Alabama with a full scholarship as a pre-med student. Okay, knowledge. So on May 24th, 2005, Natalee, she was now 18 years old, and she's graduating from Mountain Brook High School. And she's going to head to the University of Alabama. But first, she has a 5-day graduation trip to Aruba planned. I know. I was like, where's Aruba, first of all? And if you don't know, Aruba, it's a Dutch island in the Caribbean. It's off the coast of Venezuela. They have a slogan for their island. It's called One Happy Island. And it's absolutely gorgeous based off of the Google images I saw. So Natalee and a group of her friends are headed to Aruba for this kind of unofficial graduation trip. And it's with 124 fellow graduates, which is, so it's like, it was like through the school, but it's like not through the school. I know, but that's cool. I mean, I got to go to the Cheesecake Factory when I graduated. So good for them, Aruba. Wow. So on this trip, there were going to be 7 chaperones there. This wasn't like a class field trip to the zoo or a museum. It was definitely more vacation, where the kids were being treated more like adults, and they gave them a lot more freedom. So the chaperones were not monitoring the group of kids throughout the day, but they did have daily check-ins to make sure that everyone's good, everyone's safe. You know what I'm saying? Well, based off of what I was reading, it seemed like these kids had a mighty fine time on their trip. In fact, these kids were just going wild. But I mean, think about it. You're 18, you're in Aruba, you're partying, you're drinking because they have a lower drinking age there. You think you're not going to drink? You're dumb. You're going to drink. Of course, partying, drinking, there's lots of sexual relations happening. They're doing what kids are doing. I guess it got so crazy that in fact the hotel they were staying at, it was the Holiday Inn, they told the school, like, you cannot come back for the next year's graduation trip. It's just been chaotic. They've been crazy. Natalee's there. She's like living her best life. She's enjoying the freedom, the lower drinking age with all the rest of her friends. Natalee's friends said that every morning she started drinking like different cocktails, and everyone was getting wild on this trip, but Natalee's drinking was a bit more than everybody else, but that they, were just having fun. I don't want to like point the finger at her like she's drinking a lot, because I'm sure everybody's drinking a lot, but that's just what was said. So all of them were scheduled to fly back home on Monday, May 30th. So the night before they fly home, they're all going out for one last hurrah. Let's celebrate one last night. Great. So they do. Natalee, she got dressed up in like a blue denim skirt. She was wearing a cute multicolored halter top and some black flip-flops. Then her and her friends, they went to the casino, which was like right next to the hotel. So they head over there. I guess while there, Natalee played blackjack. She drank some, and she just seemed to be having a really great time. While she's at the casino, she meets this 17-year-old kid. His name is Johan van der Sloot. Yes. So he was a Dutch honor student, and he was living in Aruba and studying at the international school in Aruba. It was said that he's like very good looking. He had like an athletic build, and Natalee just seemed to you know, be enjoying his company. They just like were talking with one another, and I don't know, her friends weren't disturbing it. You know what I'm saying? They were letting her do her thing. So the group, they're all hanging out at the casino, and then they decide, hey, let's go to this nightclub. It's called Carlos and Charlie's nightclub or something like that. Let's go there and like finish out our last night in Aruba. They go there, and at 1:30 a.m., friends saw Natalee getting into a silver Honda and leaving the club with Joran and his two South American friends, the Calpo brothers, Deepak and Satish. Satish is 18, and Deepak, who's the owner of the car, the silver Honda, he's 21, and they're brothers and friends with Joran. So friends spot Natalee leaving with the three of them. So the night goes by, and then it's the next day. Later that morning, everyone is in the hotel lobby, and they're waiting to be taken to the airport. Everyone's there with their luggage and whatnot, and the friends notice that Natalee isn't there. You know, they're like, where the hell is Natalee? And they're thinking she probably just slept in, probably threw her like alarm. We should just go check her room and see where she's at. So they go up to her hotel room, and they get in the door, and they see that Natalee's luggage and stuff is all packed. And also her passport is out like on the table, but Natalee wasn't there. So they look around the hotel, no sign of Natalee. They're like, where is she? Who was the last one who saw her? And they're kind of like realizing the last time anyone saw her was getting into a car with 3 guys. Not good, right? When Natalee is nowhere to be found, one of the chaperones calls Natalee's mom and her stepdad and lets them know, like, we can't find her, which I'm sure not a great phone call to receive. So immediately the mom and stepfather, they got onto like a private jet, with some of their friends, and like they head out to Aruba in hopes to locate their daughter. As soon as they land, the first thing they do is they head straight to the Holiday Inn where Natalee and all the kids from the trip were staying. And the hotel night manager was able to pull up surveillance videotape that showed part of the casino area as well. And I guess it was shown on tape, Joran and Natalee. I'm not sure though, because I kind of read 2 conflicting things. One said it was just Joran and like the boys, and another one said it was like Joran and Natalee getting into the car, but I'm not sure because I couldn't get a clear answer here. But what we do know is that the night manager recognized this Joran guy, and he's like, I know him, like that's Joran. And so with this information, Natalee's parents, they go straight to the police. They tell the police that her daughter's missing, and they need to start with this dude, Joran, because they caught him on videotape. That's where we gotta start. So at least they have like somewhere to start, right? Geez, like where would you start? I don't even know. After they tell the police what's going on, Natalee's parents, their friends, and 2 police officers head to Joran's house to look for Natalee. At first, they notice that Joran was a little sketchy. Okay, they knock on the door, knock, knock, knock. Joran's like, hello, who's there? And it's the police. Hi, we have some questions. And they're like, hey, we saw on videotape where it was said that you were the last person seen with this girl, Natalee. Can you tell us what happened? And when he answers the questions, he's like, yeah, I mean, I know her, but I didn't know her name. And I guess one of the Kopak brothers, is that their name? Yeah, his name was Deepak. He walks into the room, right? He's like, who are you talking to Joran? And he listens in and starts to correct Joran. He's like, no, remember? We were hanging out with her at the club, and she wanted to go see sharks. Remember? And we took her to the beach. We dropped her off at our hotel at around 2 a.m. And then Joran chimes in with like, oh yeah, yeah. And she fell out of her car. I tried to help her up, but she wouldn't let me. So, I mean, weird vibes, you know? It was like, okay. And then Joran adds one more piece to the story. He's like, yeah, I remember driving away, and I looked back, and I saw a guy in a black shirt come up to her and start talking to her, and he looked like a security guard. That's it. Okay, great. Naturally, Joran is like setting off all the red flags. People are like, dude, he knows what's up. We just have to like link him to it, right? Like, where is she? Immediately when Natalee was reported missing, there was like a giant search and rescue effort that, again, immediately started. There were hundreds of volunteers from both Aruba and around the United States that came out to help. And during the first days of the search, the Aruban government actually gave thousands of civil servants the day off so they could participate in helping search for Natalee. Yeah. Insane. Then on top of that, 50 Dutch Marines searched the entire shoreline, and they also had divers searching the ocean for her body. I mean, if Natalee was anywhere on or around that island, they were going to find her. Okay. So then Natalee's parents, they offer a $175,000 reward for her safe return. And they're also raised like $50,000 extra dollars by donors to help with her return. So a lot of money and a lot of people looking. And at this point, the hunt for Natalee was getting a lot of media attention, and the world, or at least I could say us in the United States, were following this story heavily. You could not avoid it anywhere, on TV, papers, whatever. It was everywhere. Now, of course, well, yeah, duh. But of course, you didn't like hear about this more, but there was like a lot of backlash as well. There were many who argued the reason this case was getting so much attention was because a pretty blonde white woman was missing, which we have seen time and time again. It's very much true. And had a person of color been missing, who knows if the story would have made as many headlines, let alone if someone from the island was missing, they wouldn't shut it down and allow everybody to search for them. Like it wasn't, you know, it just didn't, it wasn't, I don't want to say it's not fair. Like you understand, you get it. I mean, their feelings are definitely valid here. Okay. So some people were just upset with how much effort was going into this. And it's like, hey, if I went missing, Aruba wouldn't be searching for me like this. Like, this is really, okay, you know? It doesn't mean that you can't still search. It's just, can we have the same for everybody? That's all. So then it starts getting real funky fresh. On June 5th, it's 6 days after Natalee had disappeared, there's 2 arrests that were made. So 2 former security guards at a nearby hotel were arrested on suspicions of murder and kidnapping. Now, there were rumors going around that these guys would cruise hotels to pick up women. Rumors. Police never disclosed the reason for their suspicions of these 2. But on June 13th, they would end up both being released without any charges. Meanwhile, on June 9th, JORAN and the 2 Kalpoe brothers were also arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and murdering Natalee. Since the very start, police were keeping a very close eye on these 3 guys because, hello, they had good reason. Last ones to be seen with her and acting all sorts of weird. So they were under constant surveillance. The police even put wiretaps on their phones and were monitoring their emails. Aruban law allows for investigators to arrest someone based on suspicion alone. So they're like, hey, we think you did it. They can arrest you and put you in jail. And then in order to actually keep you in jail, they have a certain time limit to produce evidence to prove that they are linked to this crime, and then they will be charged formally. That's why moving forward, you're going to hear a bunch of people just getting arrested. They just arrest everybody and then they let them go. It's just such a freaking mess. It's a mess, but that's how it works out there. Well, at this time. So then miscommunication just takes over. I don't know how this turns into such a mess, but it most certainly does. You see, on June 11th, a spokesman for the Aruban Minister of Justice makes a statement to the press saying that Natalee was confirmed dead and that authorities knew where her body was. So this was announced. Obviously, the media goes wild. Who, what, when, how, where, all of it, trying to figure out where. Not long after that, the spokesman comes back and was like, oh, LOL. Whoopsie, I accidentally told you guys the wrong information. Yes. So the spokesman makes another statement and he's like, yeah, I was a victim of a misinformation campaign. Whatever that means. Like, no one really even knew what that meant, but that's what he said. Okay, great. And then people were just really confused. So, huh? Mm-hmm. Great. Time goes on. Later that night, one of the lead investigators on the case went to the media and told them that they had gotten a confession from one of the suspects that they had admitted something bad happened to Natalee on the beach, and the suspect was going to take officers to the scene of the crime. I mean, it's a lead investigator on the case. So when he goes to media and tells them this, of course they're going to believe him, right? Of course. And they're going to report on it the next day, put it in the press, whatever. So they do just that, right? Okay. Well, the next morning, investigators on the case make a statement, again, to the public, like, we can't confirm or deny what anyone else said, but we're at a very crucial and very important moment in the case. That's their statement. So again, people are like, what does this all mean? Like, what is going on? Which, like, if the lead investigator says that, though, kind of just had, like, hello, a light bulb moment. Maybe it is true. Maybe they did, like, because later on there's a theory that they did know, and I don't know. Actually, let me not get ahead of myself. 5 days later, on June 17th, there is like this party boat DJ. His name's Steve. So he gets arrested in the relation to Natalee's disappearance. Yeah, party DJ arrested. Media's reporting on it. People are losing their shit. And then 5 days later, Joran's father was arrested by police. There was no word as to like why these two had been connected to her disappearance, but it didn't last long because both Joran's dad and the party boat DJ were released. Now, Joran and the Kalpoe brothers, they remain the prime suspects in the case, and police end up questioning them numerous times, okay? And each time they question them, they are giving different stories as what happened that night. Like, they could not keep their stories straight. At first, they all agreed that Joran and Natalee were dropped off at the beach to see the sharks. Joran then says that he left Natalee on the beach but didn't hurt her. And then the Kalpoe brothers' lawyer said that Joran called Deepak to say that he was going to walk home and then texted Deepak 40 minutes later. But then Joran says no, he was dropped off at home by the Kalpoe brothers while Natalee was still in the car. Does any of this make sense? No, it doesn't. Police don't know. They don't believe these stories, okay? Because none of it makes any sense, and they keep flip-flopping. And they were kind of believing, police were kind of believing that Joran was probably lying to try and get back at the Kalpoe brothers for accusing him in the first place. So now he's like pointing the finger back at them or like making them involved. So it's just turning into a shit show, a pure shit show. So all three suspects appear before a judge for a hearing, and I guess the judge had agreed with the police that the Kalpoe brothers weren't involved because on July 4th, they were released, but Joran was still detained. He was still being held in jail. So after the Kalpoe brothers were released on July 5th, Natalee's parents spoke at a press conference begging the people to continue helping in the efforts of finding their daughter. So during the press conference, Natalee's mom said, 2 suspects were released yesterday who were involved in a violent crime against my daughter. Help me by not allowing these 2 to get away with this crime. So she's like accusing them of being involved, right? And she's saying this to the media. Well, after that conference, Natalee's mom said that she felt like things had kind of shifted, like people were now turning against her. At first, they were all together trying to help find Natalee. And then after this conference, and after Natalee's mother called some of their citizens criminals, things kind of felt different. I wonder why, like she's accusing the Kalpoe brothers. People didn't like that. You can't just like make a claim like that, ma'am. Like we get it. You want to find your daughter, but bad vibes. So now Natalee's mom felt like, okay, people weren't on her side anymore. I mean, do you blame them? You can't just go somewhere and be like, yeah, they did it. They did it. Harass them. She had like no proof. After 2 months of searching with still no answers, the reward was increased from $200,000 to how much, $1 million? $1 million with a $100,000 reward for any information leading to the location of Natalee's remains. you know, money gets people talking for sure, especially $1 million. Yes, people are going to start talking. So, of course, people are coming forward and giving different accounts. There were a bunch, and they all ended up in dead ends. So there's no reason to like go into every single one, but they were all dead ends. There was this one guy, a man came forward saying that while he was jogging, he saw some men burying a blonde-haired woman in a landfill that afternoon on May 30th. So he comes forward like, I think that's what I saw. So police are like, well, we already searched the landfill after Natalee had disappeared and found nothing. But after this jogger had come forward and like he just seemed credible, they figured, you know, let's search the landfill again just to be sure. This time the FBI came out and joined them in the search. They even brought the cadaver dogs, you know, to help. They would end up searching this landfill 3 more times, but nothing was found. It was just a dead end after dead end. It's just kind of weird. Like, if you saw someone burying a blonde hair girl while you're on a jog, wouldn't you say something or no? Is that just, wouldn't you say something? Not to them, just like to police. Be like, yeah, I just saw some weird shit going down. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Maybe they're just like minding their own business. Beep, 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 beep. So another dead end. Well, the Calpo brothers, they would be arrested again, okay? But they were arrested this time on another crime. It was like the Calpo brothers had another friend who did some shady shit, and the Calpo brothers were associated with that shady shit, so they were arrested again. But because of this, the police were hoping they could get some kind of confession from the Calpo brothers, you know, now that they have a reason to actually hold them in jail. So they're talking to them, trying to get something, and they couldn't get anything out of the Calpo brothers, and they ended up walking free. So Natalee's mom is obviously, she's exhausted. She's tried everything, right? These people are getting arrested, then they're getting released, they're getting arrested, they're released. It's just a lot. So she's like, you know what, like I have to leave Aruba and I need to go back home, but I'm not giving up. So she heads back home and she decides to take like matters into her own hands. So she continues talking to media. She's making tons of appearances in hopes that, you know, she can keep her daughter's name out there in the press and will keep the pressure on the authorities to solve the case. And her plan seemed to be working. I mean, the story was dominating headlines around the world. And it was said that at the time, Natalee's mom was doing up to 12 interviews a day. I mean, you remember, it was everywhere. So she did it. She did it. So then enter to the scene Dr. Phil. Yeah. And honestly, in my personal opinion, Dr. Phil or his team, they suck ass. They suck ass. Because let me tell you what happened. It's pretty messed up. So Natalee's mom, again, making her rounds on, you know, doing different interviews and whatnot. So she goes on the Dr. Phil show in 2005. And on the Dr. Phil show, they're like, we have this hidden camera interview where one of the Calpo brothers, Deepak, he basically confirms that Natalee had sex with all 3 guys. And we have the footage live on Dr. Phil, you know. So they're promoting this. Great. Now, once the media gets wind of this tape, they are pretty much harassing Aruban authorities to once again make an arrest. Okay, people are losing their shit because this hidden camera footage makes it seem like that's what he's saying. And they play it on TV, and it's just a mess. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, you know, what does that mean? Well, then, the tape that was shown on the Dr. Phil episode was not exactly the whole tape. Okay, so the Aruban Police Department found the footage. They found this footage that the Dr. Phil show used, and they ended up releasing the longer version of the tape. The longer version was unedited, and Deepak's responses were way different than what was shown on the Dr. Phil show. Shady, shady, shady. Doing some shady shit for views. So on this hidden camera footage, Deepak was asked if Natalee had engaged in sexual relations with the 3 men, and he shook his head and said, no, she didn't. So this confirmed to people that someone had edited those tapes that were shown on the Dr. Phil show because they made it look like he was confirming that they did. Shame. Shame. Obviously, this upset the Calpo brothers. They were extremely upset with what was shown on the Dr. Phil show. If they're guilty or not, like, that was fucked up, right? Especially as shown on live TV, and it was proven to be edited. So the Calpo brothers ended up filing a slander and libel suit, which was set for trial in October 2011. But then it got moved to like April 2015. I couldn't find details about like how it all played out for them, but I figured that the show either paid them off, or maybe they won their suit. I don't know, but that's fucked up. Dr. Phil show. Natalee's mother wasn't giving up, though. She was dedicating her life to find her daughter. I mean, you don't blame her. She just wants answers. She wants closure. She ends up doing an interview with Fox News. They go out to Yoan's parents' home, but without cameras. And I guess they're recording it in hopes to get a confession or just any more information. Natalee's mom thinks that the father knows a lot more than what he is leading on, and she's going to try and go talk to him. Maybe if they talk in person, she could get some kind of answer, like without cameras and stuff, you know? So she goes, they sit down, the Fox interview lady is there too. I don't know. They both say, the Fox interview lady and Natalee's mom is like, Yoan's father was sweating like something they have never seen before. She's like, I've never seen someone sweat that much in my life. And even the Fox News reporter who was with her noticed that he was drenched in sweat and just looking all sorts of suspect. He was just acting a little weird, but no confession came from it. Nothing. No new information. Nothing. But Natalee's mother said that when she left the house, she felt like for sure he knew more than he was leading on, especially how sweaty he was. I don't know. I mean, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like if it's your kid who's missing, you would do anything and everything to get answers and stuff. Because naturally I want to be like, well, maybe, what if he's not involved and she's just harassing the shit out of everyone? But again, if it was like your kid, I'm sure you'd be, who knows how we'd be acting, you know, probably doing the same thing. So Yoran, he gets real chatty. Okay, so he gets released from jail again after one of his numerous arrests. I don't even know what number we're on, but he was arrested and let go again. And he decides he's going to start doing a bunch of interviews and give out his side of the story. And he does just that. So the one that got the most attention for him was one he did with Fox News in March of 2006. And during the interview, Yoan said that Natalee tried to have sex with him, but he turned her down. He's like, no. And then he also said that Natalee tried to get him to stay on the beach with her, but he had to go to school in the morning, so he couldn't. Like, give me a break. Come on. Then he said that he called one of the Calpo brothers to pick him up around 3 a.m., but Natalee insisted on staying at the beach alone. Now, remember in the beginning, the guys, they said that they dropped her off at her hotel before seeing a security guard approach her? Yeah. So during this interview, the interviewer asked Yoan, like, why did you say that then? Like, why is your story changing? You know, can you explain to us, the people? And Yoan said that he lied because he was too embarrassed to admit that he left a young woman alone on the beach in the middle of the night. And he was hoping that she was going to turn up soon and this whole thing was just going to blow over. So that was his reasoning. And a lot of people were like, well, that kind of makes sense, you know? But he wanted to do these interviews to clear his name because he was being, his life was being ruined. So then in April of 2007, Yoan publishes a book about his side of the story and how everything went down the night of Natalee's disappearance and how the media frenzy just destroyed his life afterwards. He does admit he initially lied and he apologizes for lying in this book, but he continues to insist that he's innocent. And honestly, you know, you kind of want to believe him sometimes. I don't know. You want to believe him sometimes, but then you're like, dude, but it doesn't make sense. Like, you were the last person to see her. Like, what happened? But where is she? Because they searched up and down that island. Like, where is she? So meanwhile, Yoan is doing all these interviews, right? He's like making his way around, writing a book. And the FBI and Aruban authorities, they still are searching for Natalee. They haven't given up. They continue to search for her up until April of 2006, but they find nothing. Nothing. So the police department at that point was running out of funding, and they kind of didn't know what else to do. I mean, they tried everything. So they made a statement. The ARUBA police commissioner makes a statement saying that he believed Natalee was not murdered. He believed that she probably died of alcohol or drug poisoning, or maybe even both. And like someone must have hit her body. Case solved. So many are thinking, you know what? Maybe she wasn't murdered. You know, maybe that's true, because a lot of her friends, Natalee's friends, were saying that she was drinking a ton on this trip. And maybe she did get alcohol poisoning, and maybe whoever she was with, it freaked them out and they hit her body. But if this was the case, if this did happen, a lot of the questions were like, well, where's her body at? Because why is it so hard to find? They had searched up and down that island. They can't make that statement without having actual proof of it, you know? But that's what they're saying now, the police commissioner. So then on April 27th, 20 investigators end up going to JORAN's family's house in Aruba. I know. I mean, they're trying a lot. They're trying very hard. And so they go out to his family's house, and they just swarm the place, searching the yards or digging up everything. They're just going through everything, using shovels, metal rods to poke and dig up the yard, searching the property inside, outside for any evidence. Regarding this case, they're just looking for freaking anything. The most that they walked away with was the dad's like daily planner and his personal computer, but that was really all they got, and it led to not much. So they just destroy the family's house, and then they get out of there. And then not long after, the police do the same exact thing at the Calpo family home, but with them, nothing was found and nothing was taken during their search. So they came, they caused chaos, and then they just left with nothing. I don't know what they were looking for. They didn't tell the families what they were looking for. They just said it was regarding the case, and then that was it. It was weird. It was random and weird. Because it's like, why all of a sudden now did they do that? Probably more rumors, I would assume. So after all of these searches in November of 2007, all three guys are arrested again. They're arrested again on suspicion of manslaughter and causing serious bodily harm that resulted in the death of Natalee. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. They just kept doing it. They weren't in jail for long, though. A judge ordered that the Calpo brothers and JORAN be released because they still had no direct evidence that Natalee passed away from a violent crime in general. So they're like, no, we can't keep doing this. And yeah, it's frustrating because it's like, I believe that they're involved somehow, but they can't seem to get anything. So finally, the prosecution, they had to give up. And on December 18th, it was officially declared that the case was closed and no charges would be filed due to lack of evidence. There was nothing. They got nothing. And they spent a majority of their funding, police funding. So, yeah. Just because the police were going to stop their search, whatever, Natalee's parents were not giving up. Natalee's dad, Dave, remember, not the stepdad, her dad, he refused to give up, and he decided to have his own search for his daughter. So he ends up hiring a private investigator, and his name was like Tim Miller, and hopefully this private investigator can uncover something, right? This Tim guy, he goes back out to Aruba, he starts his search in different landfills, but at some point, the Tim guy, he was approached by a police chief who told him that he should be searching 3 to 5 miles out in the sea. He's like, you shouldn't be searching here. You should be searching out in the sea. He's like, what? Why are you telling me that? Okay. So Tim gets further information that the day that Natalee went missing, a metal and wire fish trap had been stolen from a local fisherman that night. It just wasn't made like public. Something funky's going on, right? Some kind of funky ass cover up is happening. Well, Tim is like, well, that's new. Haven't heard that one yet. So Tim starts studying water currents along the Aruban coast, and he figures out where this trap might be, like where it might have floated off to based off of the water currents Cool. So he hires a boat to take him out in the ocean and captures sonar images of the ocean floor, hoping to find freaking something, right? Anything. So they go out on this boat, and of course, like, nothing is being found. A couple of days are passing. It's getting frustrated because it's like, how are we finding nothing? He did his little math, his water currents. He should be finding something, anything. And then on the sonar, beep, beep thing, you know, beep, 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 it showed an image of a large trap right in an area where he kind of figured it might be. Ooh, yeah. So Tim was like, holy shit tits. This might be it. This might be it. He's looking closer on the images, and he sees what he believes to be a human skull. This Tim guy, he calls up Natalee's father. He's like, I think I found something. Like, we're going to go down tomorrow. Getting his hopes all up because he thinks he found something. Well, the next day, a diver goes down only to discover that there were no human remains in this trap. There was a trap, but there were no human remains. It was a false alarm and another freaking dead end. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's many of these. This is just only a small fraction of the dead ends. So once again, after months of finding nothing, Natalee's father runs out of funding and he ends the search in February of 2008, sadly. That must be so frustrating because it's like, where is she? Like, where is she? Then in January 2008, a Dutch crime reporter claims that he solved Natalee's case, but for reals this time. He's like, I did it. I solved the mystery. And on February 3rd, he's like, I'm going to do a tell-all on Dutch television. So he's trying to get some views, you know? So this reporter said that JORAN made a confession and he has it on tape. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So the tell-all goes live. And what they did was they had this hidden camera footage that was taken in some guy's car. His name was Patrick. He's like this businessman. He's an ex-convict, and he befriended JORAN and gained his trust, right? So they became friends. Now, one night, this Patrick guy picks JORAN up, and they're hanging out in his car, hidden camera recording. JORAN doesn't know. Great. JORAN starts talking to Patrick about the night that Natalee went missing. Now, he's telling Patrick that they had sex, and then afterwards, Natalee starts convulsing, she's shaking, and then she's unresponsive. JORAN said that he tried to revive her, but he couldn't, so he calls a friend, he's like, what do I do? And the friend tells him to go home, and the friend says, I'll take care of the body. JORAN doesn't say who the friend is, he wants like money to say who the friend is, I believe. Yes. Probably one of the Kolpak brothers or whatever. Just an assumption. I don't know. So this footage was presented to the judge in order to get another arrest warrant for JORAN. And the judge says no, because the tapes were not enough proof to arrest JORAN. I don't know. I mean, you think it would be, right? That actually sounds like that's probably what happened, right? That sounds like, okay, that sounds like that could happen. That might have happened. I don't know. Okay, but the judge is like, no, you can't arrest him, whatever. It's not enough evidence. So JORAN afterwards speaks with investigators, and they're questioning him like, have you seen this videotape of yourself? Look what you said. You said some shit. Tell us about it. And JORAN is denying what he said on the tape was true. JORAN says that he was hanging out with this Patrick guy. They were high, and he was just telling the guy what he wanted to hear because he kept asking about it, and finally he just told him what he wanted to hear, but it wasn't true. So just, okay, okay, what do you do? I don't know. If this JORAN guy is innocent, let's just say he was innocent, he has the worst luck ever, does he not? Wow. It's weird how everything keeps coming back to him. This would not be the last time that JORAN confesses to killing Natalee and then takes it back. He does this numerous times. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. You want to punch him in the face. Because in one of the times, in November of 2008, a Fox News interview airs with JORAN, and he's mentioning that what really happened. He confesses again. He's like, I have a confession. He says that he sold Natalee into sex slavery and that he was paid for the sale, but he had to stay quiet about it. He also told the interviewer that the police found out that Natalee was taken and they knew about what happened, and JORAN's father paid them off to keep quiet. Joran was even like, I have a phone recording from my father that confirms I sold her into sex slavery. And they listened to the phone recording, and Joran's father saying something like, you know, you can't be doing this, selling her into sex slavery. Like, what are we going to do? Something along that. But then, upon further investigation, it was Joran on the phone recording pretending to be his dad. Yeah, he was just doing the most. He was doing the most, okay? So then Joran, he tells the media, oh, I was just kidding. Like, I made up that statement. I just wanted to sell it to the media. I needed some money. Yeah, just what is going on? I wish I could say that was the last time, but this douche canoe, he just keeps it going. So as the years go on, Natalee's parents dedicate their lives to trying to figure out what happened to their daughter. Sad. They just want answers. They just want closure. Like, that's just really sad. And instead, they keep getting toyed around. They go back out to Aruba, searching, looking, no new leads. They do this numerous times throughout the years, but nothing new was ever found. And then on March 29th, 2010, Joran reaches out to Natalee's mom's legal team with an offer. He tells the legal team, I'll tell you where your daughter's body is and how she died if you pay me $250,000. Well, the lawyer was like, well, I'll give you some money up front and then we'll give you the rest after we find her body. And Joran was like, deal. So on May 10th, they wired him $15,000 ahead of time. And then when they get to Aruba, they give him $10,000 in cash. So Joran meets with the lawyer, okay, and takes him to the location where it all went down, which was like on the beach. So Joran tells the lawyer, like, at this spot right here, I picked Natalee up, and then she demanded that, like, I put her down. Like, he physically picked her up. She's like, put me down, put me down. So instead of just like putting her down, he, I guess, throws her down. She ends up hitting her head on a rock, and she was killed instantly by the impact. So that's what Joran is saying, you know? Then Joran told the lawyer that he took Natalee's body to a nearby home, and his father buried the body under the home's foundation. It sounds possible, right? Like, that kind of sounds like something that could happen. Honestly, by the way his father was acting, he kind of seemed like he was involved. So again, it kind of makes sense. It like, okay, that could be it. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. The story didn't matter, because shortly after the meetup, the lawyer gets an email from Joran like, oh, LOL. The whole story was a lie. He made it all up. Send. I made that shit up. LOL. JK. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? I can't imagine what the parents are just exhausted. Exhausted. So the whole thing's a lie. Now, by the time they find out that this whole story's a lie, Joran, he takes the money that he already got and he runs off to Peru. He's like, bye. Peace. Now, luckily, Natalee's parents and like the lawyer and all that, they were kind of smart about this. They knew Joran wasn't very reliable, and they made sure to loop in the FBI as to like what was going on, what they were going to do, giving the money and all that stuff. And they let them know from the start about this Joran thing. So they taped the whole money exchange between Joran and the lawyers and all that stuff, and also confirmed that the story Joran told them was indeed false, because when they looked into the house that Joran claimed Natalee was buried under, this house hadn't been built near or around the time frame of her disappearance, and like it didn't add up. It didn't add up. Because of this, Natalee's family was able to charge JORAN with extortion and wire fraud. So the United States District Court of Northern Alabama charged Joran, but it's spelled like Jordan. Nah, it doesn't matter. The United States District Court of Northern Alabama charged Joran with extortion and wire fraud. It's not murder, but at least it's something they have hard concrete evidence for that they can lock him up for, because that shit's fucked up. He kept toying with them. Good. He was charged. But in order to actually charge him, he needs to come to the United States. Right now, he's in Peru. So, yeah. 5 years go by. a woman by the name of Stephanie Flores is reported missing. Now, Stephanie was a 21-year-old business school student and the daughter of a presidential candidate. You know, she's like kind of a very important person. I guess she had met JORAN at a casino in Peru, and it turned out that they had something in common. They both loved cocaine. Great. So they head up to JORAN's room, do a little sniffy whiffy. And while JORAN is in the bathroom, I guess he gets really paranoid and he convinces himself that this girl, Stephanie, was secretly part of the FBI and she was like spying on him, trying to get some information about the Natalee case. So he's all sorts of paranoid. He attacks. Well, 3 days later, Stephanie, she was found beaten to death in a hotel room, and her body was just left there. And when they looked up who the hotel room was under, they come across the name JORAN Vandersloot. JORAN's dumbass. At this point, JORAN, he fled again to Chile, but when he was in Chile, he was finally arrested. JORAN admitted to what he did, saying that he lost his temper with Stephanie. I guess she like used his laptop without asking him first. And while he was in the bathroom, she discovered that he was linked to the Natalee Holloway disappearance. She like came across it. And that this pushed him over the edge. So he beat her until she was dead, took money that she had just won at the casino that night, and then he fled. JORAN pled guilty to Stephanie's murder. And then on January 11th, 2012, JORAN was sentenced to 28 years behind bars. 28 years. So in March of 2014, it was announced that JORAN, after he finished his sentence in Peru, he would be sent to the United States to face his punishment for his crimes of extortion. So at least they're getting some, I don't know. It still sucks though, because they have yet to find what happened to Natalee. Over the years, Natalee's mom, Beth, she founded the International Safe Travels Foundation, which is a nonprofit which helps to educate and inform the public to help them travel more safely as they travel internationally. And on June 8th, 2010, the Natalee Holloway Resource Center, which aids families of missing people, opened in Washington, D.C. That's nice. It still sucks. It's like hard to be positive. It's like, yeah, that's nice, but at the end of the day, like, it still sucks. In April of 2006, Natalee's dad, Dave, he published a book about his search for his daughter. There is so much more. There's a lot. There's a lot with that one because they were trying to make a TV series out of Dave's book and searching for his daughter, but it just went like south. It was really bad and it didn't end well. They still haven't found her, but I'm just gonna gloss over that because there's just a lot. It gets real confusing. I mean, this story just never ends though. JORAN would be getting out of jail in 2038, and then that's when he'll be sent to the US to face his extortion trial. So in 2038 we'll be seeing her name again. That's so sad. They just want closure. It's like they can't freaking get it. In 2016, JORAN, I guess he confessed again. I know, it's exhausting. I'm telling you, there's a ton of confessions this man made. He said that like he takes responsibility for what he did, blah, blah, blah. But like, I don't know. It just means nothing, you know? It just means nothing at this point. I think all they want to know is like at this point, like where are her remains? Because it's like, we don't even want a fucking confession out of you anymore. We've had enough. We had enough of your blabbing. We don't want it anymore. That's really where the story stays. What happened to Natalee? We may never freaking know the truth. I mean, I don't know. Oops. You know what? It's cool. I'm not really known for my hair looks, so that's less pressure. Anyways, so what happened to Natalee? We may freaking never know. Who knows? Unless, what's his name? JORAN wants to confess again. But he's given so many confessions that no one believes him at this point. He's like the boy who cried wolf. He needs to actually like prove it with something. But who knows if he ever will. I don't know. I just hope that, you know, Natalee's family, hopefully they get justice, find closure and peace, and are just still able to move forward. And it's just so sad. Because it's like, what happened? With no answers? Gosh, that just leaves like such a hole in your heart, you know? I think I'm just gonna put it back. I look like I Dream a Genie for reals. Anywho, yeah, so that's the light version of the Natalee Holloway story. I would highly suggest, if you're more interested into knowing more about it. Actually, I don't know where you could look because we found information all over the place. But it's just kind of like, this is just a live version. There's so many different confessions and people who come forward saying that they saw her, who didn't, but they were all dead ends. It's like, who dropped the ball on this one? Police? I don't know. Doesn't someone know something? Doesn't someone want to talk? I don't know. I don't know with this one. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll find out what happened. But for now, that's where it's at, sadly. I just hope I hope Natalee's family has been moving forward and doing their best, you know? So I would like to hear your guys' thoughts down below. I think for the most part, JORAN is like, he's got to be involved somehow. It's just a matter of what happened and where did they, because I'm assuming there's help, where did they put her? You know, it's just bizarre, all of it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. But other than that, oh, you want to hear a fun fact? It's really not a fun fact, actually, but I found it interesting. Natalee Holloway's father. Natalee Holloway's father. Remember Dave? Oh, no. Beth. Natalee Holloway's mother. She ended up getting a divorce from her second husband. I'm sure like this probably caused so much strain on the relationship, but they got a divorce. So Beth Holloway, the mom, she started dating John Ramsey. Yeah, John Benet Ramsey's dad? They started dating for a while. Isn't that something? Wow, what are the odds of that? That's like a, wow, okay. It kind of makes sense. Like, that's a very unique loss that I'm sure is really hard to understand and relate to with anybody, especially when there's no answers and both of them never got answers. It makes sense. It makes sense. I don't think they are dating anymore, but I just thought that was interesting. I thought I'd share it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Make good choices. Please be safe out there. Look out for your friends. Don't leave them alone places or let them go off in cars with strangers. Just don't. Or at least take down a license plate if you do. How about that? Let me know who you want me to talk about next time. I think next week is my skip upload, so I won't upload. Happy safe holiday. It's my birthday. Okay, bye guys. Have a good day. Bye.